Welcome to Satsang. What a joy to celebrate the new year together. गौरव एक काम करो, गौरव भैया 2-3 विषय कुमारों के लिए कई लोगों को थोड़ा सा शांत कर देना. धन्यवाद. It's such a blessing and a joy to celebrate New Year's together. And just from the beginning, I'll mention it again at the end, but from here we'll be going together down to the banks of Ganga for a very sacred meditation and letting go experience, what we call our swaha ceremony. So I hope that all of you will be able to stay with us through that as well. So beginning with one of the questions that's come from our family joining us from all over the world, our internet-based online family, then we'll open it up to any questions that anyone here might have. My mom doesn't currently speak to me. She hasn't spoken to me for the last 2 years now, and that bothers me a lot. I apologize every time I see her, and I hope that everything will become normal. It doesn't work. My question is, how do I make up with my mom and sister, as I don't want to die with such a strained relationship in my life? There's so many things that cause chasms, rifts, troubles in relationship. And every once in a while, one of the people in a relationship will decide that they don't want to be in it anymore. Now, in this case, without more details of why, the best things to do, first of all, in any case, and this is whether someone has stopped speaking to you or they're just really angry at you, whether it's your mother, your sister, or a friend or a loved one. The first and most important thing to do, of course, is try to understand, why are they upset with me? What usually starts to happen with most of us is we get into our logical mind. You have no reason to be upset with me because here's why I did what I did. We start to justify, rationalize our behavior. And in many cases, we have very good rational reasons for why we did what we did. The dilemma is, anger is never rational. Hurt is never rational. It's the emotional self. And so the dilemma is when you try rationally to explain your reasons, your justifications to someone who is having an emotional experience. It's like this. It goes nowhere. You're not speaking on the same level or the same plane of reality. You feel like they don't understand my reasons, they're still mad, forget it, hell with you, we won't talk. They feel like you don't understand their pain. And you're having this existence of complete disconnection. And so the first and most important thing to do is to just stop and to see, can you understand? Not rationally, not intellectually, not logically, but can your emotional, feeling human heart connect with their emotional, feeling human heart? It may not make any sense. It may have absolutely no logic in it whatsoever, but can you connect with it anyway? Can you be in that person's pain with them? When people are in pain, most of all, what they want is someone who just can be there with them. That's the first step. Meet them where they are. Let them know you understand their pain, you understand their anger. Whether it's rational or not doesn't matter at this point. It's got a base or not, it's logical or not, that doesn't matter at this point. What matters is, I feel you. I love you, I feel you, I see you, I am with you. Then, and only then, can you try, when the time is right, when it seems like they are able to, not when they're super angry, not when they're in the midst of their pain, but when they seem to come back to a time in which their rational brain might be able to kick in. That's when you say to them, by the way, here's actually what I was thinking, or here was actually what my motivation was, or you try to help them understand why you did what you did, or didn't do what you didn't do. But the dilemma, the mistake that most of us make is going right at it rationally. So somebody's crying, or they're angry, they're upset with us. And we go right in with our logical mind that says, you have no reason to be angry. Well, maybe. But has anybody ever stopped being angry because they didn't have a reason to be? I mean, think back to when you were angry, with the fact that there wasn't actually a good reason to be angry. Does it make you any less angry? When you're sad, does someone trying to explain to you that there's no reason to be sad make it better? Of course not. All it does is then make you feel stupid along with feeling sad. But you're still sad. And so, in order to bridge the chasm, the gap between you and your mom, in this case, or you and anyone, whoever you're having that sort of situation with, only the heart can bridge the gap. Logic doesn't bridge gaps. The heart does. So come at it with the heart. Feel them. Be with them. And then, that may be enough. You may never need to actually have the rational conversation. It may be enough. They may just feel your heart and melt back into the connection. Or in a place where at least energetically you're now connected, where you're not separate but you're together, you can actually have a conversation about expectations, about failure to meet expectations, about attachments, about whatever it is that has caused that. So this questioner signed it anonymous, but advice to you would be, begin with your sister. If it's your mom who doesn't speak to you, if it's your mom who's most angry, begin with your sister, especially since it sounds like this has been going on for years. Can your sister help create a bit of a path? And allow yourself to be vulnerable. Don't go in all armored up like, hey, I didn't do anything wrong. I'm the good guy here. I did the best I could. Go in vulnerable. Go in open. Go in willing to hear, to listen, to feel. Allow yourself to be touched by whatever that other person is experiencing. That's what they need. They don't need a rational reason. They need to feel that you're there with them. And hopefully that will work. If not, you always can love someone, even if they're angry at you. Even if they don't speak to you anymore. You can always love them. Them not loving you, them not speaking to you, them being angry at you, doesn't prevent you from loving them. That love is in your heart. Keep loving them. If, God forbid, she doesn't come back, she doesn't forgive, she doesn't start to talk to you again, at least on an energetic soul level, you will have come back together and reconnected. But do your best. Do your best to really come back together and mend that relationship. Because, yeah, you're right. Once life is over, we don't get another chance for that. We get another chance for our own karmic journeys. But we don't get another chance for individual relationships. So try to make sure that you don't end up with regrets at the end of the day. Beautiful. Other questions? Yes. If you have a question, come up close to the mic. It'll just save us time after him of having to wait for people to walk up to the mic.
Yes, I want go on a little bit with my, or more or less, with my momentary stuckness. It's a real contrast to what I experienced 30 years ago, where I experienced my light and my non-being,
Yes.
my non-ego, non-I.
Yes.
And it was a great time, but I don't want to bath in this time, you know. It's more, today I do a really intense work with patients and so on. But I come home and sit in front of the piece of the computer, playing chess, for example. Horrible. I can't stop it, you know, because it's just fun and it's exciting, and I think I am sort of victim of my hormones, you know, which are moving, but it's also flying. It's running away of my of sort of loneliness, perhaps, you know. It's a running away, and it has become an addiction. So I'm here anyhow I have to stop it here.
Yes.
That's good. But when I come back, I fear to fall in it again.
Okay, great.
So I spoil my life. I really spoil my life like this, you know. And in seeing what I'm doing.
Yeah. Thank you for the question. So, going through a difficult time at this point, having had beautiful times in the past, beautiful spiritual times in the past, times of openness, times of light now, more troubled and dark times, but addressing them by playing chess game after chess game on the computer. First of all, don't be so hard on yourself. The urge to distract ourselves is absolutely common. It's something that almost all of us have, especially when we're going through difficult times. The urge to turn off from the pain and to do something that just keeps the mind busy, whether you're binge watching TV shows, whether you're scrolling Facebook or Instagram. I would say at least playing chess is activating the brain on some level beyond aimlessly scrolling Instagram. It's not alcohol or drugs. So yes, we'll address it, and yes, you do need to stop. But see if you can find a bit of compassion for yourself and an understanding of the self's urge to distract, and a little bit of appreciation for the fact that it hasn't turned to alcohol or drugs or pornography. That kind of the worst thing that you do to yourself is play endless chess on your computer. So if you can find a bit of love and compassion for yourself that has chosen probably the least harmful of all of the possible ways that we distract ourselves from inner pain, from loneliness. But yeah, it needs to be stopped because you are wasting the moments of your life, as we do when we turn off, when we distract. Part of it, of course, is we're driven to distraction these days by the way that our devices and our computers run. They don't have your best interest at heart. They are geared and programmed to make you keep doing what you've been doing. So even if you say, okay, I'm not going to scroll Instagram tonight or Facebook tonight or Twitter tonight, somehow the machine, the device, has its way of luring you, sort of seducing you into it. And this is where we acknowledge it and we need to take control over it. So there's the spiritual and psychological aspect of really introspecting. What is it I'm running from? You're a deeply spiritual man. You've had very deep spiritual experiences. I'd say, yeah, loneliness is probably absolutely one piece of it. But I think there's probably even more. I think there's sadness. I think there's probably fear of what if I don't get that feeling again? What if I never have that experience of light again? So I think there's probably a lot of elements that you're running from. What I would do if I were you, because you do have a powerful and deep spiritual practice, is delete the games from your computer. Just remove it from your computer. You can also set up all kinds of things on your phone, on your computer, that'll kick you off the internet at a certain time. That'll only allow you a certain number of minutes a day on the internet. And you can't even get back on the internet or do anything. Set them up. Use them. Use whatever you need to use to prevent yourself from becoming kind of a slave to that. But then, use your power of meditation, your power of introspection, your power of contemplation, as the urge is there to play chess, or to scroll Facebook, or scroll Instagram, or have a beer, or have a chocolate cake, or whatever your thing may be. Take just a moment and really ask yourself, what do I need right now? Because what the brain does when it tries to send you into the alcohol or the food or the distraction is it somehow convinces you that you will feel better. Now we know that, neurochemically we've got these hits of dopamine and they can be definitely a bit addictive. Endorphin rush with different types of food, whatever. But what you're craving on a deep level is not dopamine or endorphins. What you're craving is connection. What you're craving is meaning in life. What you're craving is deep fulfillment. But don't believe me just because I'm saying it. Ask yourself in every one of those moments, what am I really looking for right now? And sometimes, honestly, all we're looking for is a break for the brain. You've been engaged in kind of intense work for several hours. And sometimes the brain literally just needs a break. Sure, scrolling Facebook is one way to give the brain a break, but taking a walk is a much better way. You'll feel better afterwards. Brain needs a break, no problem. Give it the break. Is it tired? Give it a rest. Have a nap. Call someone you love. Listen to nice music. But ask yourself in each moment, what is it actually I want right now? When there's a craving for the chess game, the chocolate cake, the alcohol, the shopping, the pornography, whatever it is that I'm being pulled toward. Before you engage, just ask yourself very deeply, what do I really want right now? Instead of turning it into an exercise of self-control or willpower or repression or suppression, think of it as an exercise of self-love. Give yourself what you actually want. Nobody is saying deprive yourself of what you want. Give yourself what you want. But I promise you that what you really want is not the chess game. What you want is connection with the divine, with yourself, a spiritual connection. What you want is community. Give that to yourself. Ask yourself, what is it I want in this moment? Do I want love? Do I want connection? Do I want something meaningful? Do I want a nap? Do I want some fresh air and exercise? Do I want a break? Do I need to laugh? Listen to something funny. You need to laugh? Great. Find your favorite comedian. Listen for 10, 15, 20 minutes. Laugh. Call up someone who makes you laugh. But social media is a very, very poor substitute for any of the things that we actually are craving. It's a false experience of connection, of love, of meaning, of anything. So give yourself what you're really looking for. Ask yourself. I'm not going to tell you what you want, but whatever it really is, give it. And if it's not to have the pain that you're in the moment, then do something that will actually ease the pain. Not something that's just going to make it compounded a few hours later, also with a hangover or an upset stomach or an empty wallet. Moving beyond these things is not about self-denial. It's actually about self-love. It's about giving yourself exactly what you want. But don't sell yourself short. Give yourself the real thing, not the cheap substitute. So if what you want is a game of chess, great. Find a partner, play chess. Sit in the park, play chess. Join a chess club. Meet people who play chess. Nothing wrong with chess. Just stop playing it with yourself on your computer every day. Let it give you what you're actually looking for, which is that connection. Beautiful. Thank you. Yes.
Jai Gurudev Ji.
Jai Gurudev.
Being a proud mother of one Lieutenant Colonel's mother, I have a question. I have seen so many officers, even Jawans, they have उनके किसी के हाथ पैर on border आर्मर्ड कोर में टैंक के ऊपर होने से उनके hearing loss हो गए. Some of them भूंज में जब उनका रेंजेस होती है बॉम्बिंग के लिए, तो वो रेंज के पहले बॉम्ब फट गया. So the 21 years old boy has lost his
no more legs.
Legs. 3 operations उनके हुए पूना में. He was just as normal as a young boy and he was not ready to take anybody's help. And कुछ भी होने से वो फैमिली से इन्फॉर्म नहीं करते हैं. They bear themselves.
Yes.
But my question is कि सच में उनके अगर डेड बॉडी आती है तो अमर रहे ऐसे बोलते हैं, और सच में उनके कार्मिक अकाउंट में ये रहता है या पूर्वग्रह संचित कुछ होता है? भारत माता के लिए, देश सेवा के लिए वो जाते हैं. तो आई एम नॉट इन टीयर्स बट आई फील कि who will pray for them? Only family, only wives, only mother, brother, and some of them society is enjoying 15 August and 26 January. They are planning for their holidays, vacations. But who will pray for them? It's only responsibility of families. And what is the solution for that?
Who will pay for them or pray for them?
Pray for them.
Pray for them.
And is there उनको मोक्ष मिलता है देश सेवा के लिए?
Okay. So she's speaking about, as the mother of someone who served in the army, protecting the borders. She was talking about all of the young people who go off in war to protect the country, and how they lose legs, arms, hearing, so much. But they bear it all themselves, and they don't want to turn to the families for help or support. They want to just bear it and be strong and not need anything. So she's asking, A, like, why does this happen? Is it karmic? Will they get moksha, liberation, if they give up their lives for the country? And that connection to the family. So there's a lot of pieces here. Choosing to serve others, whether it's serving the nation through being in the armed forces, whether it's serving the world through becoming a scientist who dedicates their lives to discovering a cure for something, whether it's serving the world in an infinite number of other ways that each of us has the capacity, the capability, the inclination to do, is a very, very powerful and very beautiful decision. It's the marking of an advanced soul, you could say, who recognizes that this incarnation is not about getting more, having more, acquiring more, achieving more for themselves. Most people are very focused on just myself. You know, one of the things we say here all the time that Puja Swamiji taught me almost 30 years ago was not to ask what for me, but to ask what through me. And that the world that I had come from and the world that so many of us are in, kind of the natural question that most of us have is, what for me? Mere liye kya? Mujhko kya milega? What am I going to get out of this situation? But actually, spiritually, the question to ask is, what through me? How can I, in this moment, in this situation, in any moment, in any situation, how can I be a channel for God's flow on earth? And when you dedicate your entire life to being that channel, it's the mark of an advanced soul who recognizes that. Otherwise, most of us get lost for much of our lives in just acquiring and attaining and competing and this and that. So those who have decided to use their lives, in this case as you've given as members of the armed forces protecting our borders, it's a beautiful decision. It's a decision that's all about what through me, how can I, even if it means I give up my life, how can I be an instrument of protection? Do they attain moksha or liberation if they die? You know, in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says how much better it is to die in the battlefield, fulfilling your dharma, than to live for however long one might live, but not fulfilling your dharma. Now, of course, he's speaking metaphorically. Yes, it takes place in an actual battlefield, but the teachings of the Gita are not meant to send us all into battle. They're meant to help us understand the battle of our own minds, the battle of our own lives, the battle of the divine energy within us, the light versus the darkness in us. So dying in the midst of fulfilling your dharma is absolutely the best way to give up the body. Is he definitely going to attain moksha? I don't know. It's going to depend upon so much. But what I would say is, know that he's a very advanced soul. That's why he's made this choice. Know that They're dying in the midst of fulfilling their dharma. Therefore, they're progressing on that beautiful path. And the freer and freer that we get from the games of the mind, the more and the more that this life itself becomes moksha, becomes freedom. We pray, of course, that there will come a day when no country needs armed forces. I mean, the fact that anywhere children have to go off and risk their lives to protect borders is a tragedy in and of itself. The fact that we live in a world in which people are always trying to invade and take and grab and harm, well, that's not something that we should ever just accept as status quo. Yeah, okay, no problem. People will always try to grab and harm, therefore we will always need armies. Each of us, even if we don't actually become a member of the armed forces, if our dharma is different, each of us needs to be a warrior of love, of peace, of healing, of oneness. Yes, tragically at the moment, we still need young people standing on borders. But the only way that that's going to end, it's not going to end because of them killing each other. It's going to end when the rest of us actually become warriors of peace, warriors of love, when the rest of us finally say, enough. Enough violence, enough war, enough separation, enough othering. Let us really finally realize that we are one. And that mothers on this side of the border cry the same tears as mothers on the other side of the border. That's what we need to realize. So that no one would do something that would require the young people of their country to then go out and support the violence that they've just started. Like, I know if I throw a bomb in the next city or a missile in the next city, well, they're going to come after me and try to get me. Which means if I'm going to do that, I better be prepared to send people to go and protect our borders. Which means before I send any bomb or any missile into the next city, I better think 100 times about whether I'm then prepared to send our children out to then protect the bomb or the missile that I just launched. We need to move beyond that. We need to move back into awarenesses of oneness so that we stop losing legs, losing arms, losing lives. That needs to be eventually where we go, such that the battles that we fight are just within ourselves. And then slowly, 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 those stop as well. But until that time, yeah, it's a very courageous choice to offer up one's life like that. And who's going to pray for them? Well, yes, of course, their families. But in these cases, I hope everyone does. Everyone we lose in a war on any side is our child. And we need to pray for them all. All of us need to pray for them all. Because only when we can pray for them might we think 100 and then 1,000 times before sending more off to the borders and boundaries. Yeah, thank you. So, yeah, one more question. Satyji. Jai Shri Krishna. It doesn't actually work like that. That's why they keep it on the stand. Yeah. That's okay.
Jai Shri Krishna.
Jai Shri Krishna.
As it says in Bhagavad Gita, and we have experienced that the whole universe is made with three gunas, tamasic, rajasic, sattvic. In other words, three conscious levels. And so sometimes we operate at different conscious level, depending on the situations. And this whole world is being operated that way, because that's how the Prakriti is made with. Now my question always comes, due to those gunas, this whole world is turmoil. Some of them you see here in Rishikesh, everything is sattvic. When I go to the corporate world, everything is rajasic. When I go to these wars and things about everything is tamasic, different conscious level. So God has made us with body, mind, and intellect. And of course with ego and soul and all that. Why did my question is, why did not God made everything sattvic? Everything love and peace and anandam, and having all this, so then we do not have a turmoil. Because when I think about my life, I think about it, and I do a lot of practice, everything. Then I think, end of the day, I got this negative thought, this happened, and I did which I should have not done. And then I sit back and I say, wait. Sometimes I get discouraged and I say, God, why can't you just make me so liberated that I'm not affected with anything, and I never say anything, or never say, I don't try to say anything, but I don't even think negatively. So I ask the question to God, why can't you just make the whole world as if so loving, peaceful? Why did you create all these gunas and just negativity? Because that's a part of us.
Yeah.
So why can't you just make only thing just parts, everything sattvic, loving, caring, whatever is our Atma is all about, whatever God is all about, why can't He makes all of us like Him?
Well, if you were running for creator of the universe, I would vote for you. You can take Satyaji's question another layer, which then is, why create us at all? Right? I mean, the next layer of that is, well, if we're all God, and the whole point of all of this is to wake up and remember that we are God and go back to God, why bother separating us anyway? Right? I mean, if we're nothing but God, why make us forget that we're God? So that we have to spend all of these lifetimes re-remembering. Right? I mean, if you're asking for something, let's ask for the full picture. Like, rather than just making everything sattvic, make us beyond all the gunas. Right? You've just chosen the best of the three physical worlds. But as long as we're asking, as long as we're writing out, Diwali lists or Christmas lists or birthday lists or whatever we are to God, why not say, make me beyond the gunas altogether? Make me fully liberated from the gunas. Make me fully remember that I am nothing but God. And then in that case, why bother having me go through this at all? The dilemma with questions like this is that the only answers that we've been given are scriptural answers, answers from the enlightened masters. And what the answers for all of that is about in 2 minutes, because then we have to go to the Ganga. So volumes and volumes and volumes of scripture, and even more volumes of commentary and philosophy on the scripture. In 2 minutes, the bottom line is, there was nothing but God. There is still nothing but God. However, out of God's self, God created the universe, and created the universe in such a way that we would forget that we were God. And therefore, our journeys of lifetime after lifetime after lifetime would be all about remembering and reuniting. Why? Valid question. Why? Well, we use the word lila to describe it. That's the Sanskrit word, which literally means the divine play, the divine drama. Like God has created this beautiful stage upon which we are playing out our roles. Why? Again, valid question. Why? The only explanation I've ever heard that felt right inside of me goes like this. To becoming one is a very powerful and very beautiful experience. Now think about it. Think about your marriage, or think about your relationship. Whatever the most powerful, important, intimate, deep relationship that you have is. Now, do you ever find yourself sometimes, for seemingly no reason whatsoever, stirring up trouble? Just kind of creating conflict to create a little bit of kind of drama, right? It's something that almost all of us do. And if you said no or you weren't aware, dig deeper. You may be someone who doesn't. Chances are it's not that. Dig deep. It's something that almost all of us do, especially in long-term. I don't mean if you've just been, with someone for 3 weeks, but in long-term relationships, it's something a lot of us do. We just periodically, and more when we're younger, of course, but we just periodically kind of create a conflict in order. Why? Because making up feels so good. Now, it's not that you're consciously doing it. It's not that you're saying, oh, I know today I'm going to pick a fight because then we'll get to make up tomorrow. It happens on the subconscious and unconscious level. You feel bored. Things feel kind of stagnant. Yeah, they're good, no problems, but, same old, same old. And so, subconsciously, unconsciously, you instigate a little something. Right? You pick a little fight, you get upset about something, and you allow it to escalate and escalate to the point where when you're fighting, if you asked each person, what actually are you guys fighting about? Nobody knows. Why do we do that? Because coming back together, making up, feels really good. And you always feel closer in the hours after you've made up after a fight than in the hours before the fight even started. It's just something about human nature. And so the only explanation that I've ever heard of that made sense to me for why this whole thing is because God wanted to have the experience of two becoming one. Therefore, out of Godness created the universe. Buried within us the awareness that we were never separate, that we have always been one, that we are still one. Made us think that we are two, such that we would work on coming back. And ultimately in that moment of divine connection, call it God realization, call it samadhi, call it moksha, call it nirvana. It feels so good. And that is the only explanation I've ever heard of that makes sense for why bother? Why create the whole creation? Why fill it with these gunas? Why make it struggle? Because in that struggle, in that conflict, ultimately, eventually, that creation is going to come back. And two will become one. So I can't guarantee you that's the reason until God takes me into personal confidence and says, shh, I'll tell you. Until that happens, it's the only explanation that to me inside feels like, yeah, I could see that. I could see that. Because this does, on so many levels, in so many ways, feel just like a divine play. A divine coming back together. A divine re-emergence. So yeah, the gunas are there. Enjoy them, dance in them. And just remember, you're going back to God. Beautiful. So let us all together from here head down to the banks of Ganga for our sacred letting go swaha ceremony. And then dinner will be after that, after the swaha ceremony. And quickly, just again to announce on a logistic level, tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., we invite you to join us again back on the banks of Ganga for a beautiful New Year's morning yagna. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful evening, and Happy New Year to all of you.